Yay! Hi, babes.
Hello, I am here with Sasha Rose Love, the queen of intentional orgasm.
Yay!
So let me just introduce you. Sasha Rose Love is an intimacy and relating coach, a sex positive, very sex positive, let me add, educator, and the ultimate sensationalist. She shares the skills and practices and techniques that have helped her overcome deeply ingrained limiting beliefs such as sexual shame, lack of self confidence and worth, the martyr mama, and childhood neglect and abuse. Combining her years of study in trauma recovery, somatic sexual healing, shamanism, women's reproductive health, midwifery, conscious parenting, herbalism, and cranial sacral therapy to offer well balanced and blended teachings. Through these techniques, she helps guide people in creating the life they want regarding love, sex, money, health, and connection. She's passionate
Awesome.
about sharing ways to integrate the practice of tapping into the wisdom of the body for guidance every day. And
Uh-huh.
5 kids.
Uh-huh.
This chica, hot, sexy mama with her 5 baby bears, and
Mm.
yeah, I love and adore this woman so much. She's a total queen. We've been on so many retreats together, and one of the first times I met her, we did this intentional orgasm practice, and it was awesome with like 20 people in the room. Well, actually, we did 2 different versions of it. We did like a single version, and then we did it like a group where we did it in groups. But we're going to talk about just doing it with ourself today in a self pleasure practice. But yeah, so I love that, and I just love her. She's shown up so much for me as a friend, and for so many people, and in so many ways. So I'm happy to have her. So Sasha, tell us how you got into intentional orgasms and offering.
Yes, thank you, Shezza, for having me. I'm excited, and I love what you're co-creating with so many amazing and incredible beings who are just doing the good work. So, let's see how I got into this practice. Um, I think it really comes through like I started with working in the healthcare field, working with women, helping women give birth to their babies, and recognizing how much wisdom is in our own bodies. And I believe that we're really born with it from from childbirth. We're born with intuition, and I talk a lot about the chakras in my work and how intuition is in our body, right? Like we have like, but we're taught by well-meaning parents to ignore these intuitive little signals from our bodies. Like if you've ever been in a place where you're like, oh, I don't know if I should be in this dark alley, and you'll get this like sinking pit in your stomach, right? Or when you really want to say something, but you're just so caught up in your throat and you're like, oh, I can't say it. Like that's our body saying, hey, you need to say this, speak up. If you've ever experienced heartbreak, you felt it in your chest. Like our body is continually sending us signals, but well-meaning parents, including myself early on, were like teaching us how to override these systems. And it's like, don't cry. Don't be scared.
Can you give us I'd love to just have like a concrete example of what you're talking about because I think it's really important that we get this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that throughout the day, we're all being given signals from our body of what we need and what we want and what needs more attention. And there's science around this. If you study traditional Chinese medicine, if you study any of the more ancient, science, you will recognize that acupuncture is all about this, right? They talk about how different spots of the body relate to different types of emotions and dis-ease in certain parts of our bodies. So let's just say that, even I think it has to do with health as well. Like for me, I'll just give myself as an example. For the longest time, and this is kind of, also related to today, for the longest time I have, and when you met me, I had terrible allergies, right? And I would get lung infections, and I just had these terrible allergies. And through doing a trauma recovery program, which I now teach, I started working on the trauma. And so what had happened is, growing up, I really didn't have the space to emote, to share my emotions, to share my feelings. And so I bottled them all up inside of me. And my body learned that it wasn't safe to share my true emotions. And what it did is it turned into inflammation inside of my body. So I started noticing when I started doing the trauma recovery program that every time I would get emotional or I would start talking about past trauma, it would come up as snot in my face and in my throat. And all of a sudden I was like, I just had so much inside of me. And so I had taught my body how to, it's a coping mechanism. I had taught my body, since it couldn't emote, since I couldn't speak my truth in my marriage and in my family life, I had taught my body how to process these emotions in a different way, which showed up as like massive amounts of snot, basically. So my body was really
for the body. It's like, okay, you're not gonna actually, because this morning on my morning practice, we were talking about feeling and how that's the gateway. And it's like, honey, if you're not gonna feel, then I'm gonna have to get this out some way.
It's a coping technique, and yeah, I honor my body for having that coping technique, right? No. But once I was able to work through and process all of that trauma and say the things that I had been wanting to say my whole life, and just really work it through, then I was able to be more in touch with my body. And also now I recognize, like, if I get really emotional, I start, this, or if I'm not clearing regularly, if I'm not doing my own practices, I'll get stuck again. Like my body creates inflammation. And there's doctors doing this as well. Dr. Gabor Mate, with The Body Keeps Score, he also has a lot of research around this, right? So it's like our bodies are giving us signals every day with people we're around. Like if you're around a person and all of a sudden you feel like you can't speak, like that's something to acknowledge. If you're around somebody and you're getting like sinking feelings in your belly, or like those are all things, and some of it is just normal nerves. Oh, I'm nervous, that comes up.
Oftentimes that's our way of being like, oh no, it's just me, it's just, and rather than being like, no, actually there's something going on in this relationship.
Exactly. Well, it's saying pay attention to me. It's our body's way of saying pay attention to me. I have something to say. And to a certain extent, ignoring our body's needs and its signals is a little bit of a coping technique. We live in a fast-paced world where we're getting information thrown at us. We see so many people on a regular daily basis, not right now, but in a general setting, we see so many people. So we are, to a certain degree, just ignoring our bodies. But this is also something that I've seen around sexuality. So this is a big part of why the intentional orgasm and the self-pleasure practice is so important. I've had people come to me as an intimacy and relating coach and say, my sex drive, I don't have a sex drive anymore. And I just don't get turned on. And what is that about? And men and women, men being shamed for not being able to sustain an erection, women feeling shame for not being able to show up and connect with their partners. And they're like, it's my partner, or was it me? What was something wrong with me? So I went, I had the beautiful opportunity to go study with the Buddhist monks in Thailand. I took my daughters and we went and studied meditation, and we did a vipassana, and it was amazing. And at the end we got to, it's a program called Monk Chat. If you guys ever get an opportunity to do it, I highly recommend. And at the end of the vipassana, we got to ask all the questions that we had. And of course, the first thing that yours truly asked the monks was like, abstinence. How does the celibacy work? How do you do that? Because part of what we were taught in the meditation was when we felt something, you know, oh, I feel my foot hurts, or why did I choose to do this, you know, crazy practice, you know, we would acknowledge the feeling, the emotion, the thought, and then we would release it and let it go. And so I found out that this is how the monks have have honored this practice of celibacy, is that they acknowledge that he told me, he's like, we acknowledge we have desire. I see a beautiful woman. Ooh, beautiful woman, desire. But eventually, after ignoring that for so long, they no longer have those desires come up for them anymore. It's easy. It's become a practice of ignoring this part of their body. Well, that's often what's happening in our bodies when we're no longer feeling desire, when we no longer feel our pussy or our cock turned on, when we no longer feel in touch with that part of our body. And so the practice that I teach and that I developed is around reconnecting to that part of our bodies. And sometimes it's that we've been violated, or we've ignored and violated our own bodies. And so I know I've violated my own body. I know I've said yes to sex when I really meant no. I know I know I've said no to sex when I really wanted to say yes. Like we we violate our own bodies and our own boundaries on a regular basis, because we don't have clarity, right? Fear, past trauma, all sorts of stuff comes up, and then we can't be in touch with our own body. So a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, teach me tantra, teach me tantra. Me and my partner, we want to come and we want you to teach us tantra.
Yes.
And I always say
tantra is trauma release.
Right. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's really, to me, if you ask 100 people what they think, and I do this regularly, what tantra is to them, you will get 100 different answers. So
much of it is just dealing with what we have, what is in the way of us being ecstatically alive.
Exactly. And getting in touch with our own bodies. So I always say Tantra is an individual practice. It's a practice of getting in touch with your own wisdom and your own body. Yeah. And that is what the root of Tantra is for me, at least, right? Your mileage may vary depending on who you ask. And there are lots of different lineages of Tantra. I don't deal with all of that. You know, it's, for me, it's new, if you want to call it new age tantra, whatever you want. I honor all of the work of the people who have come before us and before me and who I have learned from. But the biggest teacher in my life is me and this body. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So the practice that I teach basically, and then I want to talk a little bit about, let's see, about self-pleasure, and also known as masturbation. And I don't like that word masturbation. It comes from, like, it's thought. The etymology of this is to come from a Latin Greek word that is from, like, says something like menstruate, man meaning hand, and straight means to defile. So essentially to defile by hand. The word itself was made in a way to create shame.
Yeah, so if of the word, nearly everyone who's come on here is like, we don't use that word.
Yeah. Self-pleasure, because pleasure is good, and it is our right. Our bodies were designed in a way to give us pleasure. We have all of these little yummy pleasure sources and spots all over our bodies. So so yeah, a big part of the practice is learning how our bodies work in pleasure. And I think it's really unfair that we go into relationships and experiences with other people expecting them to figure out how to please us if we haven't done the work to learn how to please ourselves. So when one of my daughters came to me, and she was 14 years old, and I happened to see she was using our family computer, and she left the Facebook chat up. And I came on and I saw that her and her 14-year-old boyfriend were making out in the back of the bus, and they were thinking of going all the way. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? You know, mama bear. I'm just like, why is the bus driver not doing anything? I was angry at first, right? But then I started really thinking, and I was like, well, I can't keep my kid from having sex. Like, why would I want to? She's 14. I want her to wait. I think it's young, and but I really like what I really recognized was like I need to have more conversations with her. So I went to a local little sex toy shop, and I got her. It was called this little vibrator. It was called the Buzzy Bee. The Buzzy Bee. That's what it was called, the Buzzy Bee. And I brought her into my room that day when she got home from school, and I handed her this really cute package, black paper, black bag with pink, and she was so excited. She was just like, "What is this? It's not my birthday. What is this?" And I handed it to her, and I told her, I said, "Baby girl, I read your message. I didn't go into your stuff, but you left it up on the computer, and I saw that you were thinking about having sex." And I said, and I know that you're going to have sex. I said, but before you give your body to another human being, in order for them to give you pleasure, why don't you go ahead and learn how to pleasure yourself? Learn your body yourself.
Yes,
And I watched
mamas.
and her face went from just like, as she opened the package, her face went from like utter like disgust, like, why is my mom talking to me about this? Like, oh my God, to curiosity and excitement. And it was just a gift to give her. And she told me she used it a few times afterwards. We talk about sex a lot in my family. It's just to me, it's another part of play and life that there's so much shame around it, and just talking about it to me is so important with everybody, with everybody, with your friends, with your lovers, with your best friends, with your kids, with everybody, just normalizing conversations around it, because we are limiting our own access to our own body's wisdom by just ignoring that.
It's the same as food. We talk about food all the time. Sex, it's our nourishment.
Yes, yes. One of the ways that I've been connecting with my friends and my lovers during this time of social, what are we calling it now? Solidary isolation or something like that. I forget what it's called now. But where we're all taking care of ourselves and working together is doing these online Zoom chats with friends, and talking about sex, just talking about it. We have some cards that we do, and we just talk about it. So just normalizing the conversations. So the practice that I teach, and why I think it's so important, and what I think that people are probably dealing with a lot right now, they say that love is the strongest drug, right? But really it's the hormones and the chemicals that our brains release when we're in close contact with people. Even just a hug, a 20-second hug releases all sorts of endorphins, serotonin, dopamine. Orgasms release all of these hormones and chemicals in our body. And right now, people who are used to being in close contact with lovers, or just people in general, are all feeling this drop. I mean, it's like we are going through withdrawals. I personally have been going through withdrawals, not being able to see and touch my lovers, not being in close connection with them. I am feeling withdrawals. And so we need to acknowledge that our body is going through withdrawals as well. Chemically, it is, if you have a lover that you see regularly and you are no longer seeing them right now, or not seeing them as much, you are literally going through a chemical withdrawal within your body and within your brain with not having that. And so here is a good opportunity for you to become your very best own lover. And this self-pleasure practice of just doing that, just giving yourself time to find what parts of your body do you love? What parts of your body want to be touched? I've been guiding people through doing this online. I love teaching workshops. And so I haven't been able to do that. And so I've been teaching these small groups of people, just helping them come together and get in touch with their bodies. And it feels so good, and it's been so reconnecting. And so the practice, I'm just going to walk you through it. And the practice of intentional orgasm is, we know that our bodies can be wired for pain, right? If you get close to a hot stove, your body goes, oh, ow, that's hot. Don't touch that. And you just wired into your body, pain, hot, don't touch. You wired that into your body. Pleasure, can do the same thing in a lot more fun way, right? It can wire our bodies. So the practice of intentional orgasm is actually creating an intention. When you're self-pleasuring, when you're giving yourself more pleasure, when you're exploring your body and giving yourself more pleasure, you can create an intention. Whatever you're trying to release, whatever you're trying to call into more of your body, you can just say, okay, with this orgasm, I'm going to wire my body for more abundance, for more love, to release the things that are no longer serving me, to get more in touch with my own body. What are my body's needs? And so how I do this practice is I do it through the chakras. So while pleasuring yourself, using this pleasure source, your whatever part feels good to you. It could be nipples, it could be your yoni, it could be your cock, it could be your clitoris. That's my magic button. You, while you're doing this, you're going through each of your chakras. So you start at your root chakra. While pleasuring yourself, what does my root chakra has to say to me? Root chakra has to do with safety, stability, family, whatever that means to you. So you're tapping into your own body's wisdom, and you're inviting your body to give you those signals. And sometimes I see it as colors, sometimes a word comes in, sometimes an old experience will come through. And then I move through each of the chakras while pleasuring myself with this. What is my sacral chakra saying? What are my deep desires? What do I want more of? What does my solar plexus have to say? Am I holding on to something? Am I holding myself back? Am I playing small? What does my heart have to say? What does my throat have to say? What does my heart want? How do I want to love and be loved? What does my throat have to say? Am I holding my back? Am I not saying my truth? Am I not speaking my truth? What does my third eye have to say? The wisdom from those who've come before me, the blood of my ancestors that flows through me, I allow that channel to be open with pleasure. And then into my crown, recognizing my connections with everybody around me. And which ones of those connections do I want more of? And which ones are holding me back? And it's time to let go of. And then when I have orgasms, I really hold that intention dear to my heart. And I feel it rewiring my body. And I've shared this with practice with up to 40 people before. And it is so powerful. You were there. Yes. And people get triggered because we have to recognize that some of us might have shame around even just touching ourselves. And that's another experience and another opportunity for us to overcome and rewire our bodies around all of this. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know, I actually felt emotional while you were talking about it because so I feel the power and just also the sweetness of it, of rewiring our bodies for pleasure. Like, this is huge. It's huge. It's like, how can we and being with ourselves in this beautiful and intimate way is just so special and sweet and powerful, and it's so needed.
It's so powerful. Yes, it's so powerful. And I love, like, I'm a huge blend of like science. You know, I have a background in medicine, and so I'm just like, I have a huge respect and desire to acknowledge science, as well as bringing in the spiritual woo-woo of it all. And this is just a perfect way to blend and marry the two together. There's science around this, as well as there is spiritual aspects of this as well. I study shamanism and have been connected to that for years. So I encourage everyone to try it on their own as much and as often as possible, and also recognize, like, first of all, orgasms boost your immune system. And this can be a way to help you really, like, if you're feeling so disconnected right now, if you're feeling out of touch, if your body just feels numb. I heard you talking about how your yoni was numb. Just how important this practice is in coming back into our bodies, and then recognizing how much wisdom is there. We are so wise. All the answers that we are looking for, they're not out there. They're right in here and right in here.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I really wanted to take a moment to talk about intentional orgasm for the collective of what we're going through right now. And like, first of all, one of the practices that is really important to me is that when I'm going through something, whether it's fear, shame, whatever it is that I'm working through, if I can see that whatever I'm experiencing, it's not just mine. We're not just like these little things, and I'm all by myself, but there are like millions of people out there that are also experiencing it. And so it's like, if we can use this intentional orgasm as a collective healing tool, that whatever we're going through, that we are not only healing this with our orgasm for ourselves, but for the whole entire planet.
I love it.
And give space to the suffering that's happening right now. At all times, there's always suffering, but there's some really intense stuff going on. So if you have an extra orgasm, for me, it's what's happening in India is very alive for me right now. India is one of my homes. I've spent many years of my life there. And even though I don't go back there anymore, like I still feel a deep connection there. And, I was listening to these migrant workers. There's people all over the country that are working, and now they're on a full lockdown, and there's no way to get home back to their villages and back to their families. There's just mass homeless people, and they're on a full lockdown. And I'm feeling it very strongly right now. I'm feeling it's in so it's like, if you have an extra orgasm, it's just like, well, give that to the people who really need it. There's crazy suffering right now. So realize that when we're going through whatever we're going through, we're unwinding it, because when we use these practices, what we're doing is we're unwinding it out of our nervous system. When we're really feeling and being with whatever it is that we're experiencing, and then we're unwinding it out of our nervous system for ourselves and for the collective. And then also we can like set intentions for the global healing of the planet.
I love that. I love you. I want to say that this is a great coping technique. We're being called upon to really access our coping techniques. And for some of us, our coping techniques, for me at least, is to make love, is to have sex, it's to be loved on, it's to embrace my lovers, it's to be in community with my friends. A huge part of why I host and co-host and facilitate play parties is because that's just another way of normalizing a part of our play. And so I think a huge thing that's coming up for a lot of people is helplessness. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. And I am feeling a lot of the weight of a lot of people suffering, not only across the oceans, but also in my own community. And it's not millions, Shezza, it's billions. This is probably one of the most unifying experiences that we'll maybe ever experience. Like we're not, it's such a traumatizing, we are all in trauma right now. I just want to acknowledge that we are all in trauma right now. And a big part of my work that I do is in trauma recovery, and I'm a trauma specialist. And so our accessing our coping techniques is so important right now. And so our self-pleasure is just another way that we can really add into our coping mechanisms. And when we talk about releasing, I want to make that a little clear, because it sounds difficult. Oh, what does that mean? How do I release? Sometimes all the release is just acknowledging it. I'm afraid. I'm scared. I'm sad. I don't know what to do. I'm worried. I miss my friends. My heart aches. My body hurts. Just acknowledging those emotions.
Presence, rather than fighting and wishing it was gone and suppressing, bringing our presence.
Just feeling it. I like to say that a lot of times, all that we have to do to release and the emotion is to acknowledge it and to love ourselves through it. I do a tapping practice, and I just say, I feel scared. I feel helpless is a lot of what I'm feeling. Even though I feel helpless, I can still deeply love and accept myself. Even though I feel scared, I can still deeply love and accept myself. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel. Whatever you're feeling is okay. I can be angry. I've been pissed off. I've gotten so pissed off lately. Bullying online. I'm just like, oh, you guys are being bullies. Do you not see this bullshit? Grow the fuck up. I'm angry. I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at coronavirus. I'm angry at the leaders who aren't fucking doing their part. Even though I'm angry, I can still deeply love and accept myself. Do the breath, do the breath, do it.
Yeah. Oh, babe. Yes.
It's so important to just love and accept ourselves through this process, because whatever we're feeling right now is totally valid, and nobody knows what's right for us. Only we do. And so that's why tapping into our own body's wisdom right now is so important. And I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that I was not using my own coping techniques until about a week and a half ago. I was just like frazzled out. I was doing ridiculous amounts of research and just like throwing out ridiculous hypothetical theories, and I was getting eaten alive for it. And that was my coping mechanism, because I wasn't.
Everyone went through that in their own way. Like, everyone had to take some time to like really go in and flip out about what is going on here. I mean, you went into like the dangers of health, which is kind of like, because that's kind of your fear. My fear is the conspiracy theories. Like, I went straight in for like, who's behind this? And like, like getting so wrapped up in all the drama. And then just, I think that now it's like, I think a lot of people, there's a little bit more settling, like, okay, this is what's happening. We're doing our social distancing, and how can we show up for ourselves and for each other and really heal during this time? And intentional orgasm, self-pleasuring is, wow, I want every single person who is watching this to absolutely, whether you have a partner or no partner, please dedicate some time to doing a self-pleasuring practice and set the intention for intentionally calling in something for yourself and for the planet right now, the healing, the deep healing that is so needed for all of us.
I love how you really acknowledged what was up too. Like, for me diving into research around health, that's my fear coming up around my own health issues, right? Because I've struggled to overcome some health issues. That's how I developed this pleasure practice. Is I was sick and could hardly leave my bed for almost a year with this upper respiratory infection that just would not go away. And I found out eventually that it was this house that I was in, toxic mold, but it was also toxic relationships. There was a lot of toxicity in my life that I overcame, and I'm on the other side of that. But when it first came up, I was being triggered. And so I love how you're, acknowledging like whatever people, let's just try to honor each other's processes right now, right? Whatever coping mechanism you're using right now is okay. And like, unless it's hurting you, like if you're getting drunk every night, you're not taking care of your body, that's probably not an ideal coping mechanism. While it might work occasionally, it might be that you're recognizing, I don't have any coping mechanisms. And this is the time to really start to instill one. So like we've suggested, self-pleasure, intentional orgasms, all the orgasms.
We're not suggesting, we're demanding. Everybody's self-pleasuring with intentional orgasm.
We're writing a prescription right now for everybody. Yeah, and just reconnect with your body and reconnecting. And so I want to encourage people to just recognize, like, if you're watching right now, just give your, if you can, your sex, your genitals a hug right now, a touch. And just feel that power and wisdom that's there. And if you have shame, if you're like, oh my God, should I be doing this? It's okay. Then recognize that too. That was probably instilled programming around somewhere there, around when you were first touched yourself. If you want to think about, ooh, that first time when I realized this feels good. And if some shame comes up, then acknowledge that and just tell yourself it's okay to feel pleasure. It's good for me to feel pleasure.
I'm healing through pleasure.
Healing through pleasure. Pleasure for healing. That's the tagline that's the little the hashtag. Pleasure for healing. Yes, and just give your body some love. Like, oh, there's so much wisdom and power here. Your own body's wisdom and power. It's so yummy. And just all the feelings that you feel around it is okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has been so yummy, so powerful. So, and I love you so much, babe. I miss you. I'm going to come down to Austin and
I can't wait.
I'm coming. I don't know when it's happening, but for sure I want to come and hang out with you and Robert. Maybe you have to send Robert over here.
Yeah.
And yeah, just see you guys because I just adore you on so many deep levels. You're such an incredible soul sister, and I admire you so much for what you do in the world and how you show up for your kids and the whole thing. You're just a total queen.
Thank you, babe.
So much, and I look forward to with you more.
I love you. I love you. And thank you so much for having me. People who want to follow me and find out more about what I'm doing and join my classes, sasharoselove.com. And also, I have a Facebook page, Sasha Rose Love Intimacy and Relating Sex Positive Educators. So, yeah, I moved all my sessions online because basically, I'm just teaching what I do and I'm just helping you do it for yourself, which is really where the power is. I recognized after doing our in-person sessions that I was in some ways taking away power from them by doing it for them. Like, yes, I can guide you through this practice of using intentional orgasm, but what if I guide you through doing it for yourself? And so I've moved all my sessions online and can help and am available for anybody who wants and needs it. And I'm also doing group sessions as well, because it's funny, all of a sudden, when we're all in this place of self-quarantine, self-pleasure is all of a sudden being more normalized.
It is. It is.
I've been doing these group sessions and people are like, oh, he strokes his cock like I do. Oh, she likes that? I like that too. All of a sudden, and that is like silver lining to all of this, right? It's like the normalization.
There's so many silver linings happening right now. Even if we don't see it, there are so many. I can feel it. And one of them is definitely that self-pleasuring is something that this world freaking needs. Yeah.
And a lot of us are doing it. We just don't talk about it.
And making it more intentional and more intentional for the purpose of healing is just really, it's where the power is at.
Right. Because it can be a negative thing if you override your own body's sensitivity by, just, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I hear about that. I've worked with people who say they're addicted to porn and stuff. So I want to acknowledge that yes, having the intention, and sometimes it does take a rewiring of the body to, and that's all possible. Like we're not broken. Like we can fix all of this ourselves. We're not broken. And then the power to fix this and to reawaken an ecstatically alive body is right here in our own hands and in our own bodies. So
yes, reawakening our natural state of ecstatic aliveness. That's what we're doing here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, my love. You're so beautiful. And thank you everyone who joined on this call. Don't forget to do your intentional orgasm.
Every day.
Self-pleasure practice. Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Love you. Love you, Shezza babes. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Beautiful. Goodbye.
Bye, baby.